Everyone to the August 2025 committee meeting of the Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that the council is now web streaming and its standing committees and council meetings live to the internet, and as such, all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open it, the 25 Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee, the time being 5:31?
5:32.
5:32, thank you. And would someone like to volunteer for the Welcome to Country, please? Councillor Orion.
I'd just like to acknowledge traditional custodians and land on which we meet. Today, being the Wiradjuri people, I'd like to pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to also pay respects to everyone that's here with us in this meeting today as we sit down and go together as one.
Thank you. If we could go to IPEC 25/50 leave of absence. I have a request for leave of absence from Councillor Dickerson. Would someone like to move that for his... thank you, Councillor Richardson. And seconded by Councillor Wright. Thank you. I now put the motion. Electronic voting is now open. You'd cast your votes. Okay. I'll now close the voting and declare the motion carried unanimously. So we could move to the next one, IPEC 25/51, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare? Councillor Wright?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This one's for a little bit later. I'm not sure if I should declare that now or not, but CSC 25/52. So do you want to declare that now? Or
Next.
Let's declare it when we get to CSC. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councillor Wright. Any other councillors? There being none, we'll move on to IPC 25/52, the report of the Renewable Energy Zone Benefit Committee, meeting 17 July 2025. Do I have a motion? Yes, thank you, Councillor Ivey, and seconded by Councillor Toynton. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments that it was a good meeting. It's a new committee, and part of that is really working with the members of that committee to develop and understand the purposes of that committee. That's a work in progress, and I think we're making good progress on that. The other perhaps important part that came out of that meeting was the need to get further representation from residents of all the affected communities that will be impacted by the renewable energy projects, and that's taken on board and will be developed over the coming period. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Would there any other further debate, councillors, at all? No. Councillor Ivey, would you? Oh, there's no right of reply because there's no one mentioned. So we just put the motion. I'll open the voting, and if you could start voting. And I think that's all. Yes. So we'll close the voting and declare it carried unanimously. Okay, next one. IPEC 25/53, the report of the Floodplain Management Committee, meeting 30th July 2025. Do I have a motion? Councillor Wright? Yep, okay. And seconded by Councillor Richardson? Yep. So, Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, we'll just make a comment on that one, Mr. Chair. That look, the Wellington flood study. It's look, it's a very complex piece of work when we consider that we're talking about the flows from the Macquarie through from Burrendong Dam, but also the flows from the Bell, and the fact that both of those rivers do merge pretty much on the doorstep of Wellington. So it creates some pretty complex challenges. There's been a lot of data that's been collated by the engineers that have completed a lot of work on that study, but not only sort of factual data that they've gained, but also by talking to a lot of landholders, utilising a lot of aged photographs at different times when that area has been in flood. So councillors will see a pretty significant report come to a council meeting later in the year, and the plan is that document then will go out for community consultation early in the 2026 calendar year, so just after that Christmas break, so we can give our community a chance to go through that document and provide some final feedback. But yeah, very, very interesting, very complex, and look forward to seeing that report later in the year.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Wright. Is there any further debate, councillors? There being none, I'll just open the voting. If you would cast your votes. Okay, close the voting and declare it carried unanimously. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, yes. The CEO has reminded me that Councillor Chowdhury is with us online. So the next one, IPC 25/54, the Development Activity Summary. Do I have a motion? Councillor Ivey, yes. Seconded by Councillor Wells. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, which I noticed that within the approvals is the health services facility at Spears Drive, which has been an ongoing or a long-term issue, debate, consideration of this council. So it's good to note that is finally reaching some sort of stage where we will actually end up with an alcohol and other drug facility. It's to be commended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Is there any further debate, councillors? No, there being none, we'll start the voting. Please cast your votes. Is there Councillor Shibley Chowdhury? Is he voted? He's done his. Oh yeah, I was just all good. It was a delay. Oh yeah, yep. Okay, I'll just close the voting and declare it unanimously carried. Okay. Next, we have IPC 25/55. The Draft Planning Agreement, VPA 23-005, Sandy Creek Solar Farm. Do I have a motion? Councillor Ivey, yep. And seconded by Councillor Wright, yep. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question to start with, through you, Mr. Chair. I note where the VPA has designated that 40% of the $850 per megawatt be allocated to this LGA, and I understand that that's because the total amount of money per megawatt has to be shared with other councils. But I do note where the facility includes battery storage. Under our VPA arrangements, solar and wind attract a certain percentage or a certain amount per megawatt hour per megawatt. But I notice, and battery storage similarly attracts a contribution. Does this Sandy Creek development include both battery and solar panels, in which case should the amount be greater than the $850 per megawatt?
To the CEO.
Mr. Jennings. Through you, Mr. Chair, the state government guideline around benefit sharing, which it's come out last December, it includes a requirement for $850 a megawatt for solar projects and $1,050 a megawatt for wind. Also, $150 a megawatt for standalone battery energy storage systems. Where there is a battery energy storage system in conjunction with either a solar or wind project, the guideline doesn't allow council to seek the additional $150 per megawatt for the battery component of the project. So basically what we've got there is just the 40% component, which is what's proposed in the Dubbo regional local government area, and it's 40% of the overall $850 a megawatt. The balance of the project is proposed in the Warrumbungle local government area in that regard.
Any further questions?
Yes, then just another question, perhaps through you, Mr. Chair, some explanation of again how the process might work. I noticed this is the VPA. Basically, we're voting or agreeing to endorse the amount of money per that will be allocated under this VPA. The actual usage or the uses to which that money will be put, though, is will be subject of a further community or the further community input. Is that right? And how might that community input be harnessed? And is it through the Renewable Energy Zone Renewables Committee or through some other source?
This area.
Mr. Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So from the consideration of committee tonight, and if the resolution's adopted, obviously through the council meeting in 2 weeks' time as well, following that, the draft planning agreement will be placed on public display. There's a requirement in the planning legislation for a planning agreement to be placed on public display for at least 28 days. However, that's just the start, really, of the consultation. What we will be doing as well as part of that process is having some detailed conversations out there with community in that general vicinity of where that project is proposed up in the northeastern area of our local government area. And Councillor Ivey, you're right, the Renewable Energy Zone Benefit Committee will have a fairly solid role in having guidance with this planning agreement, and obviously looking at what projects and the like that this planning agreement could be used for over time as well. So yes, very much tonight the start of the process to lock in that quantum or that amount of money, and then we really start the hard work out there talking to community about what we can best do with these funds.
Any further debate, councillors? Councillor Black.
Thank you. I note that the report says about projects from the VPA to proponent or developer has sought a level of community feedback on appropriate strategic projects within close proximity of the development, etc. It'd be good if the proponents and developers, I didn't sort of realise, but just the money comes to council and then council works out with the community how we're going to spend it. So that's one thing I think that these proponents from various renewable energy projects really do need to realise, is that it's okay for them to have a bit of a feeling on how they would like the money spent, but it's actually coming to the council and then back to the community, not actually up for them to say. Thanks.
Okay, any further debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey, would you like a right of reply?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, let's start the voting. Please cast your votes. Yes. I'll close the voting and declare it carried unanimously. IPC 25/56, results of public exhibition, draft Blue Ridge Precinct Development Control Plan, DCP 23-004. Do I have a motion? Councillor Wright. And a second, Councillor Black. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, I will support the motion, but I just had a question though that staff might be able to just provide a bit of clarity on the floor here, and it was just around some of the feedback that I see was received from a member of the public, just with respect to landscaping and green space. Question was the comment in the report. It's page 62, and it just talks about in site coverage, a minimum of 20% of the site is designated as good quality landscape environments used for growing plants, etc. And I understand there's road verges for street planting, etc. But 20% just seems like a sizable figure to be contributed towards landscaping. I'm just wondering if that's an industry standard or something, just a DRC policy. I'm just wondering if you might be able to provide a bit of clarity on the floor here.
To the CEO.
Mr. Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the question, Councillor Wright. Site coverage is there as a guide. It is a development control plan. It's there to make sure that proponents look at having a decent landscaped area with industrial and commercial developments, like that we will end up seeing across that wider Blue Ridge area over time as well. Part of the DCP actually talks about that it can be utilised as permeable paving. So this means that, so not just landscaping, that it could be used as, some sort of a car park area as well, but if it's got permeable paving. So that means that it lets stormwater through there as well. So in terms of that, it's a requirement, obviously, as I've said, in the development control plan. It's not a state government policy setting, but it's a common provision that you do see in development control plans of residential and industrial commercial type activities throughout New South Wales.
Any further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll start the voting. Close the voting. And declare it carried unanimously. The next item for consideration in the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee is deemed by the Chief Executive Officer to be confidential. Can I now have someone move to defer?
No, you
Oh.
just skipped one. Just go.
I just skip one?
Yeah, no, that's all good.
Oh, I skipped one, did I?
Yeah.
Ah,
There you go.
crumb.
All good. All good.
I missed one. Thank you.
It's all good.
Right, so IPEC 25/57, Water Supply Services Policy, Sewage Services Policy and Liquid Trade Waste Policy Review. Do I have a motion? Councillor Wells, and do I have a second? Councillor Toynton. And Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, it's a really big report and lots of details that, it's quite hard to understand some of the details, but good report nonetheless. I do have a question though. On page 71 of the report, one of the sections of the category is meter tampering and water theft. And it talks about there's a new enforcement section and a clear statement added regarding illegality of meter tampering and unauthorised water use, including penalties. And I was just curious to sort of get some clarity around the purpose of that, please.
To the CEO?
Ms. Mooney.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So, Council takes the issues of water meter theft or tampering seriously. and actively regulates such activity. Under its regulatory powers, Council can and will issue penalty infringement notices and apply consumption charges where applicable. Additionally, Council reserves the right to initiate prosecution in accordance with Section 637 of the Local Government Act 1993. If pursued through the courts, a conviction may attract a maximum penalty of 20 units, which is $4,400.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, I'm curious, is there much activity around that? And I understand that might not be able to be answered, but it's, I wonder whether that is something that Dubbo Regional Council faces. Thank you.
To the CEO.
I'll pass to Ms. Eade.
Sorry. Yes, so unfortunately, yes, we do see quite a bit of meter tampering or meter theft. Yeah, we have staff in the field. We have a dedicated compliance team in our water and sewage team who do report it, and we have procedures and policies that we follow under the Local Government Act, to handle and manage any water theft or meter tampering. I won't go into specifics.
Thank you for that. It's just interesting, but also concerning that there's an increase in water theft. But thank you for that clarity.
Is there any further debate, councillors? Yes, Senator. You've been promoted. Councillor Kelly.
Please don't do that to me, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious, this on page 124 with the residential and non-residential sewage charges, could one of the team explain in as plain English as is possible the formula for working out those sewage charges, please?
To the CEO.
Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there's two different types of formulas for the sewerage charges, one being the residential and one being non-residential. So the residential is based on so there's two components to this. There's the access charge, so it's the size of the pipe that leaves the buildings, and also the usage charge. So that's how much of the water that's provided to the to the resident, that actually gets used and then consumed and then goes down the drain. So the access charge is that annual charge, and it's based on a 20 millimetre diameter pipe. So that's one component. So there's a fixed annual fee for that. And then the usage charge is how much is actually used by the residents. So that's based on your water intake. And there's a sewage discharge factor of 75%. So what that means is the estimate of the amount of water that's used within a household that goes into the sewage system is 75% of the total consumption. So people do water, people use it in pools, that sort of stuff. And then there's a charge of $2.70 per kilolitre based on the water usage charge that's a part of that. So there's the two components of based on a fee for service for usage and also that fixed cost of the usage charge for residential buildings.
Sorry, supplementary. Is that a standard across local government or across regions? Or is there a difference between local government areas?
I'd suggest there could be price. The differential is the kilolitre pricing would change, but I'll throw to Mr. Ryan for some clarity.
That's correct. The usage change can be different for different councils, but the set formula is the same across local government in New South Wales.
Any further debate, councillors? There's being to be none. We'll go back to the original mover, which I think was Councillor Wells. Yep. Would you like to write
No need, thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm quite happy with that.
Okay, I'll just open the voting. Please cast your votes. We'll close the voting. And we'll declare it carried unanimously. Right. Now I get to do this one. The next item for consideration in the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee is deemed by the Chief Executive Officer to be confidential. Can I now have someone move to defer item IPEC 25/58 quotation for supply and delivery of 5 motor graders to be dealt with at the end of the Corporate Services Committee in the confidential session? Councillor Black, seconded Councillor Richardson. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion? No. If there's any further debate, councillors, just open the voting then. Please cast your votes. Close the voting. And declare it carried unanimously. And there are no further items. I declare the Infrastructure Planning Committee, Environment Committee closed. The time being 5:57. Is that right? Yep.
I now open the August 2025 Culture and Community Committee, the time being 5:58 p.m. We'll move on to CCC 25/34, leave of absence. I have a request for a leave of absence from Councillor Dickerson. Can I have somebody move that motion, please? Moved by Councillor Ivey, seconded by Councillor Wright. Thank you. I now put the motion to electronic voting is now open. Right. Please cast your votes. How do I close it again? Just I'll now stop voting and declare that carried. Moving to CCC 25/35, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare? There being none, we will progress. Don't vote on that, hey? We move on to CCC 25/36, report of the Youth Council meeting on the 1st of July. Do I have somebody to move that motion, please? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Cowley. Cowley. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Richardson?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any further debate or discussions? Councillor Cowley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Only to just say that I had the great fortune to chair that meeting, but to pass the chairing of that meeting to young Brendan Fernando Fuller, who was fantastic in the chair. And again, I would just recommend to councillors, if they get the opportunity to come to a youth council meeting, please do so, because they are some very impressive young people holding the reins of this committee and speaking on behalf of our youth. Yeah, they are to be congratulated. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cowley. Are there any further questions or debate? Before we move on, I'll make a short mention. I wasn't at that committee meeting, that youth council meeting, however, did get an opportunity to attend the one recently, and I want to concur with Councillor Cowley around the youth council, how it continues to impress us as councillors and how we hand the reins over to the young councillors to do the chairing, which is quite, I think, a great skill for the young people to pick up at such a young age and do the chairing of the committee. And they do it with ease. So I am super impressed with the councillors and the way that council itself is, bringing our youth into the advocacy space. With that, I will put the voting, start the voting, not the voting. Oh, I didn't go back. Okay. So I'll stop the voting and declare that carried. And also apologise for not going back to the motion person to ask for a right of reply. Let's move on to CCC 25/37, the outcomes of public exhibition for the Victoria Park and Old Dubbo Jail Crown Lands Plan of Management. Do I have someone to move a motion? Move the motion, please. Councillor Wright. Someone to second. Councillor Cowley. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thanks, Madam Chair.
Are there any other or any further comments or debate? There being none, I will start the voting. I'll stop the voting. And declare that carried. We're moving on to CCC 25/38, the draft 2025-2030 Dubbo Region Events Strategy. Do I have someone to move the motion, please? Councillor Ivey, and seconded by Councillor Cowley. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, again, a great report with lots of information in there. And it certainly does help this region attract, or it will help this region attract events. And perhaps just through you, Madam Chair, could I ask perhaps for some comments from appropriate director or staff as to what their take is on the fact that we are really starting to see a lot of, throughout Australia, volunteer burnout, and that really still the successful implementation of a lot of these regional events will depend upon volunteer inputs. Has staff or we got any magic wand or any ideas or any tips on how that that need for further volunteer input to be implemented?
I'll pass to the CEO.
No magic wand yet, but I'll pass on to Ms. Willits and to answer what else is in our kit bag.
Who has got a magic wand?
Through you, Madam Chair. No magic wand, unfortunately, but we'll use a number of tactics, and I'll just mention a few. For example, we've got the new residents night coming up, so we'll look to connect newbies with events. We're developing a volunteer handbook, so that'll give some best practice advice to events to help them engage and retain volunteers. And you're absolutely right, this volunteer burnout is being experienced right across the nation. So we do have a part to play in that, because without our valued volunteers, we simply wouldn't have events. So we've identified it as a key action, and there's a number of things that we can do through tools and tactics to help events connect with volunteers. And I do know that the Lake Burrendong Fishing Classic is a case in point. That's a fantastic event that we have lost. I hope we haven't lost it forever. I've reached out to the event organisers when they told me that they weren't holding the event this year. I'm not really sure why. I have heard on the grapevine it was because of volunteering, but I'm not quite sure if that's actually true or not. But yes, it would be one of the factors.
Thank you. Councillor Cowley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I too congratulate the team on the breadth and depth of the report. It's and the strategy. It's very comprehensive, and it's nice to see that there are some practical action items included. I have a couple of questions there, and I'll take them one by one. But the report, the strategy mentions the villages of the LGA and also Wellington. I wonder if either you, through the relevant director or the staff, might explain a little or expand a little bit further on where Wellington and the villages might fit into this strategy.
Okay, right through the chair. CEO.
Ms. Bullets.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'll start with Wellington. So we know that Wellington has some exciting and valuable natural assets. So natural attributes being Burrendong Dam, Mount Arthur, its bike trails, its rivers. It may not have the elite level sporting fields and the state-of-the-art conference venues, but what it can do is we can look at talking to those asset owners and working with them to position Wellington as a destination for adventure sports. So what that means is hopefully through that process, we can then start attracting the championships and carnivals that do bring the people to Wellington, so they do spend their money in the town.
Thank you. And the villages?
Thank you. The villages present exciting opportunities for cultural events. So the Man from Iron Bark Festival, which has been held for many years, so we work closely with that event. But it's also important that not only do we provide that support to existing events, but if there's an organisation out there, particularly one which is living in a village that's looking to activate their village through event activity, please reach out, because that's what we're here for. We're here to take them by the hand and help them with the tools that they need to arrange an event.
And a further question, Councillor Cowley?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. And perhaps this is a follow-on from that. On page 134 of the report, in the action items, I'll just get it on my screen. The actions table of focus area 1 talks about, and on point 5 there, talks about developing a training program to help build the capacity of local event organisers. And it lists Dubbo Regional Council as the role of council being as a provider over the next sort of 5 years. I'm just wondering, that it's a great idea to develop a training program to help build the capacity of local event organisers. Is this something that council would develop as a resource and deliver itself, or is this something that we might partner with external providers or bring external providers in to facilitate?
I'll throw to the
develop
CEO.
and facilitate.
Ms. Bullets.
Through you, Madam Chair, the event development and capacity building has been a core focus area of the events unit since it was established 10 years ago. One of the things that we found is, unfortunately, a lot of event owners out there don't realise that they can come to us. So we can provide that one-on-one tutorial or show them how to develop plans and marketing plans and what have you. But the other platforms that we use are social media. So we have a designated event network social media page that we share findings and learnings and capacity building information on. We also have a database of probably over 50 event organisers that we email regularly. On top of that, we can pull in staff with expertise in waste, sustainability, marketing, to present to workshops. We've held workshops in the past. A little thing by the name of COVID came in that put a bit of a dent in the works. So we're looking at reigniting sort of those one-on-one meetings and event network meetings. And we've also recently engaged Australian regional events, and they've undertaken tutorials and workshops with event organisers, and that's something that council has sponsored.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Yes. Councillor Ryan. I was going to call you Councillor Adam. Councillor Ryan.
Thanks for that. Just a bit of clarification with the Lake Burrendong Easter Classic. I'd say the rumours that you have heard are true. It was just a matter of volunteer burnout. I actually am a member of the Twin Rivers Fishing Club who have run that event for the last few years. And it was just a case of the same guys doing the same roles. And as you can imagine, it's a massive event and a lot of work goes into it with, you know, just organising the truckloads of donations and buying prizes and stuff for that event. It's not permanently put off. It was just that we just didn't have the numbers really to make it a successful event in the past year. You know, as always, we always had a lot of people with brilliant suggestions and ideas of what we should be doing, but not too many that wanted to actually help out. But yeah, hopefully Twin Rivers will be back up and running, and well, it's still running, but you know, at a spot where the Burrendong Easter Classic will continue, because it does attract a lot of people. A lot of people come through town of Wellington, you know, the servos filling up their cars, boats, you know, everything that comes with it, buying a coffee. So it's something that's still in the pipeline.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Are there any further? Yeah, Councillor Ivey.
Just a follow-on comment from that too, something that occurred to me while the staff were speaking. Is there an opportunity for some of these sort of major events to perhaps even have corporate ownership? And I'm thinking, even of the Burrendong Fishing Classic, you know, I think Shimano gives them an enormous amount of money as sponsors. Is there ever an opportunity to say to Shimano, why don't you call it the Shimano Easter fishing competition and try to get their actual ownership? Is there any opportunity, do we think, for, as I say, corporate involvement with some of these major events?
I'll throw to the CEO.
So I think that is where Ms. Wood said earlier, to sit down with event organisers, even though it's in abeyance for a season, to actually work on some of those strategies to reinvigorate and lessen the load on volunteers. So I think that's a key part of what's called out in the regional event strategy, that level of assistance, actually making that known to event organisers, such as the one we're talking about, that there is that level of assistance, and then you can strategise where best you can use your corporate dollar that way.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Madam Chair. There's a couple of comments, actually. It was a really interesting report, great report, and it highlighted a couple of things for me. One of them is, especially for event organisers that might be looking at something new, just identifying the gaps. I know there's popular times of the year where we have spring or long weekends and school holidays, etc., where organisers want to host these events. But, you know, this winter gap that's mentioned in the report, you know, is a great opportunity for an event to slip in where there's no competition. So I really enjoyed the read for that side of it. Open space, I was really blown away by some of those stats around the both showgrounds, especially the Dubbo showground, about the utilisation numbers. I know there's often some complaints about the facilities there. Maybe they're not up to date, but the fact that the showground's booked out for nearly every weekend of the year just blew me away, those numbers. So it's obviously well utilised, and that does go to the fact that we probably don't have enough open space, and I guess we've got hopefully a master plan project at Ollie Robbins that we can continue to keep our eyes out for to try and fill that gap for a purpose-built precinct for these types of events as they come along. The other one was about accommodation, and I know council obviously continues to push with those res proponents that we don't want to fill up our hotel rooms and taking our accommodation, and that's obviously a challenge as well to encourage people to come to the town to Dubbo and the region and accommodate themselves in reasonably priced accommodation. And it was obviously pleasing to see in that report a little while ago that there are a couple of some service departments, there's some temporary workers accommodation, and there's a hotel upgrade I see as well. So those things obviously all go towards trying to take the pressure off accommodation, but obviously that still continues to be an issue, which I guess council has a role in, and ensuring those proponents of those large projects don't fill up those rooms that we'd like our tourists and visitors to fill up.
I'll throw to the CEO as well.
Yeah, and I'll just throw to Ms Brown as the relevant director across tourism, and there is a body of work and analysis being done in that regard.
Thank you through you, Madam Chair, and to the question, the comments from Councillor Wright. Yes, it's definitely something that's on our horizon about how that the strategies we can employ to make sure that while we're able to take advantage of renewable energy zone benefits and opportunities, we don't cruel other industries that we have, and tourism is obviously an important part of that. Our Destination New South Wales partner, Destination Country and Outback, have undertaken a report recently, which is not yet in the public domain, but we're working to make that happen, which really starts to quantify the potential impacts and but more importantly, some of the strategies that may be successful in addition to us working individually with proponents, and we'll be able to advocate for some of those strategies to be funded through the state government.
Are there any further comments or debate? I'll just have a couple of points. Also, the New South Wales Junior State Cup event comes February. We've still got them coming next year. And they too have issues around accommodation when they're coming for their event. And hopefully we'll be successful to get it back. But I think there have been some innovative thinking around how to accommodate families and teams as they come in. I believe that the Dubbo Showground is also used for the carnival. It's just sadly some of the accommodation costs are increased at that time, which is quite impactful on the families that come to Dubbo. In terms of the Wellington, the Burrendong Dam fishing competition, it is hopefully does return. That's a really great competition, and it covers across Easter, and lots of families get out there to that event. So whilst the people are down catching all their fish, there are still a lot of families getting around having a great time out there at Burrendong Dam. They have an Easter hunt parade, hundreds of kids running down the hill collecting the Easter eggs. That's a little bit scary, but beautiful at the same time. So I will go back to the mover of the motion, Councillor Ivey. Would you like a right of reply?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. That being the case, I'll start the voting. Please enter your votes. Okay. And I'll stop the voting and declare that carried unanimously. We'll move on to CCC 25/39, Australian Kart Championships, the multi-year opportunity to host. Do I have somebody to move that motion, please? Councillor Cowley. Do I have a seconder? Councillor, all right, I think you got it first, sorry. Councillor Wright. Councillor Cowley, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a quick question, actually. I note on page 139, I think it is, it tells me that their a return on investment, $1 for a 54 return, which obviously looks pretty good to me if I'm an investing kind of guy. But what would we be looking for there? Is there a benchmark, with maybe that type of event or any event where we're seeking a ROI, a dollar return figure?
I'll throw to the CEO.
Ms Willetts?
We don't have a benchmark per se, because it depends on how much they're looking to be sponsored for through you, Madam Chair. And so that we look at all the different benefits that event. So it's not just about the return on investment. It's not just about the dollar value. It is importantly so the dollar value, but it's also about those reputational benefits, their risk profile, and their reach. So this one's got an international reach, which is quite significant. But it is a good return on investment. I can provide a benchmark if in terms of compared to other events and what they return. Happy to do that.
That's okay.
No, thank you.
Are there any further comments, Councillor Ivey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. Is there any opportunity for council to recoup any of that $20,000 by perhaps selling advertising at any of its venues, or from the organiser, or do the organisers retain all the rights to advertising income?
I'll throw to the CEO.
Ms Willits.
Through you, Madam Chair, one of the key actions under the event strategy is to create a corporate partnership program. So what we want to do is we want businesses to understand the value of events and invest in them. So in return for their investment, they might get their logo or their brand on a sign, and that sign might be at Apex, or that sign might be at Victoria Park. We are looking to implement that probably in the next 3 months through council. But that's a key action under the strategy, and that's to, find that revenue stream.
Throw back to the CEO.
Yeah, and so just importantly, putting that in context of the Cart Club, that'd be a little bit early. There's no guarantees in terms of us being able to recruit through advertising on their land or their event at this point in time. So it'd be a contribution to enable the event to take place.
Are there any further comments or questions? Councillor Toynton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just looking at the recommendations on page 138. What was the reasoning with recommendation 3, the funding be conditional to the Australian Karting Championships being held outside a school holiday or long weekend period? Just want to clarify why that was set, given that school holidays and long weekends are when people generally have more free time to go to these events.
I'll throw to the CEO.
Ms Willits.
Through you, Madam Chair. The reason being is what we can do, councillor, is fill those voids, fill those troughs. So we know that Dubbo during the Easter school holidays is busy, July, again in October. So we have peaks and troughs. So we're looking to attract those events that occur in those trough periods and feed coin to accommodation, hospitality, our tourism attractions, and receive that flow on.
I'll also throw back to the CEO.
Yeah, so a really good lived example is the touch football that we hold during February, typically, and I'm just looking over to confirm that it is a very low period normally. And so people will travel for their sporting event in those areas that they're really keen on. And so that's a really good example of targeting something that's in a low period normally for our region. So this would reflect that approach.
Thank you. Makes perfect sense.
Are there any further comments or debate? There being none, I will put the electronic voting to vote. Please vote. And I will declare that carried, and again apologise for not going back to the mover for a right of return. Ah dear. Okay. We'll move on to CCC 25/40, update on sister city relationships. Can I have someone move the motion, please? Councillor Cowley. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ivey. Councillor Cowley, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Only to say that I hope that it's possible to continue to pursue the possibility of a relationship with Newcastle for the benefit of both our cities.
Thank you. Is there any further comment or debate? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two questions. I noticed we did have a sister city relationship with a town in city in China. Is there any present restriction or federal government imposition of problems with sister city relationships with Chinese cities? And secondly, if I can just ask, in relation to the Osinawa sister city relationship in Japan, which was between Wellington, the old Wellington Shire Council, and their local council. I noticed we've been in touch with them on the 14th of July to seek some advice on their take on the status. Has there been any update on that since that contact was made on the 14th of July?
I'll throw to the CEO.
Ms Walker.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I'll just speak to the first question and then I'll pass to Ms Walker to answer the second question. There is currently no specific advice from the Department of Foreign Affairs related to sister city programs. What we're seeking advice from them is their generalised warning or advice to Australian citizens travelling to China as a whole, irrespective of the program through which they're doing that. So we have reached out to them and are waiting on formal advice from them as to their advice on travelling to China, which we would then bring back to council for a formalised decision if you wish to restart, place on hold the continuing sort of student exchange with China. We are conscious that the students who travel are under 18, so we are very mindful of using caution at all times. So again, waiting on that advice from the federal government to bring to you as a bit of information to help with that decision-making process.
Through you, Madam Chair, just talk about the contact with Oswano Toyama in Japan. Since the writing and the submission of this report, we have had word back from our counterpart in Oswano, and we have set up a meeting between the sister city officer, myself, and their counterparts. We are hoping to discuss where our positions lie. We've also received information from the manager of Open Recreations regarding a garden upgrade at the Wellington gardens there. So we will also be including discussions on that side of things as well in reference to the updated master plan that is currently being worked on.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or debate? No? Oh, Councillor Butler.
Yeah, just a very quick one. Maybe I've misunderstood. So it says here, report update on sister city relationships. Proposed cost 44,000. Is that saying that the report's costing 44,000 to? What's the 44,000 relating to? If you don't mind me asking.
I'll throw to the CEO.
That's the current cost of our sister city program. I'll throw to Ms. Moore for clarity.
That's the current budget that we have for our sister city officers' time and resources. So that excludes the funding for the existing Minakamo and Wujiang allocation, which are existing. So that was inherently to give you an idea of if we take on or add any additional programs, that's the sort of operational budget we have for the officer to undertake her work. So that's just to give you an idea of just managing her time. That's about what we're looking at. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or debate? I'll just also make a quick comment. I think the sister city relationships are really important for Dubbo Regional Council, and myself and a couple of other councillors had the opportunity to participate in the students from Minakamo student exchange a couple of weeks ago, which was really interesting, and always enjoying to be able to communicate with them and share customs from us to them. So very important and great to see that it continues. So I will return to the mover for a right of reply. Councillor Cowley, would you like to a right of reply?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I will start the electronic voting. Please cast your votes. I will stop the voting if it lets me. I don't know what's going on, but I will declare that carried. Oh, I just cleared the results. Right. The next item for consideration in the Culture and Community Committee is deemed by the Chief Executive Officer to be confidential. Can I now have someone move to defer item CCC 25/41 tender Victoria Park Amenity Block Design Construct to be dealt with at the end of the Corporate Services Committee in the confidential session? Councillor Cowley. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wright. Councillor Cowley, would you like to speak to your...
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. I now put the motion to electronic voting. Please cast your votes. and have stopped voting and declare that carried. As there are no further items, I declare the Culture and Community Committee closed, the time being 6:31 p.m. Who's next? Okay. One take. Go without.
Decisions were made.
I now open the August 2025 Corporate Services Committee meeting, the time being 6:32 p.m. Okay. I have a request for a leave of absence from Councillor Dickerson. Could I have someone move that, please? Councillor Wright, seconded Councillor Cowley. I now put the motion to electronic voting. Yeah. Oh. Okay. And then just close it there.
And your vote's not coming up.
Okay. I'll close the voting and the motion's passed unanimously. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? Councillor Wright?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I will declare that on CSC 25/52, I have a non-pecuniary less than significant a conflict there. I have a family member who's employed by DRC at the airport, but I will stay in the room for this one because I won't personally or nor my family member receive any significant benefit or direct or indirect from that particular project.
Okay. Item CSC 25/48, report of the Villagers Committee meeting, the 14th of July 2025. Do I have a motion? Councillor Toynton, seconded by Councillor Ryan. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Toynton?
No, no, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any further debate? I'll now put the motion to the vote. I'll now stop the voting and the motion's passed unanimously. Item CSC 25/49, report of the Wellington Town Committee meeting 16th of July 2025. Do I have a motion? Moved by Councillor Ivey, seconded by Councillor Toynton. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Ivey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, it's a good committee. It's a very active committee. You get a lot of input, a lot of discussion. It was very interesting, I thought, of all the issues which really are before Wellington and up for consideration. The meeting was addressed by Jamie Lobb, Mr. Lobb, on the future of the Wellington transfer station, and that stimulated a whole host of debate, or not even debate, just discussions and a lot of interest. So it just goes to show that we were thinking of what beautification plan in the town centre we might look at, or what bike track we might do, or what the lot of interest was on the background, the problems and the future and the implications of the future of the Wellington transfer station. So I think that it was just brought home to me how useful it is to have these committee meetings, because there was an issue really specific to Wellington residents, and there was the opportunity for them to quiz the powers that be on the happenings and why they were happening. So it was a great meeting.
Any further debate? I'll now put the motion to the electronic vote. I'll now close the voting. And the motion's passed unanimously. Item CSC 25/50, monthly reporting snapshot for councillors, July 2025. Do I have a motion? Mover? Councillor Toynton, seconded by Councillor Cowley. Councillor Toynton, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any further debate? Councillor Ivey?
Thank you. Yeah, a question really on the passenger numbers through the Dubbo Regional Airport. I noticed that they've for this year, of the year just gone, comparable to the year before, but down a bit on the previous year, the 2023 year. And I just wondered if that was, one, a cause for concern, the fact that passenger numbers aren't growing, or in fact some of our comparable airports, be they Tamworths or the Armidales or perhaps Albury, whether those numbers are similar for their airports. Is Dubbo doing better or worse or the same as some of those comparable airports?
Through the CEO.
I'll pass to Mr. Lindsley Noakes, our airport manager, who happens to be here for another meeting, but another paper, so good timing.
Through you, Madam Chair. Dubbo's passenger numbers 4% decline compared to last year. In comparison to other airports, so we look at using publicly available data, Bitra data. Tamworth down 9.3%, Armidale down 7%, Albury was listed down as down 19.8%. So a lot of regional ports that are suffering. Some doing better than others, of course, it's a cause of concern. Not a 4% decline is not what we'd like to see, but we're doing work in that space.
Councillor Ivey?
Perhaps just a follow-up question, and maybe it's not you're not the appropriate person to answer it, but is there a definite or an active program to try to reverse that? Is some promotional work being undertaken? Have we got the opportunity to try to increase the regional travel, airport travel into our region?
To the CEO.
Mr. Lindsley Noakes.
Very, Madam Chair. So we're working with the airlines. So you would remember we put a report through not that long ago around changing the fees and charges structure so we could have individualised agreements with the airlines. So that's one aspect where we can have an individualised agreement with an airline that includes growth metrics. Another item is we're underlooking this financial year community and customer surveys to see how people are travelling, where they're travelling to, if there's any new routes that we could look at developing with airline partners. And then, of course, I've done some advocacy with the regional economic development team for New South Wales, looking at like the FIFO with the RES, and then, of course, internal sort of team marketing the airport, informing customers, airlines of developments, programs out here, events, etc. So lots of work in this space.
Councillor Chowdhury, you had a question?
No, all good. Councillor Ivey has asked my question. All good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other debate? Councillor Wells?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on the service performance domestic waste on page 20, I'm just really curious about the recycling tonnes by month, by year. It seems to be, well, it appears to be, well, actually on the report, for June, it's dropped quite a bit. And I'm just wondering what the rationale is for that.
To the CEO.
I'm going to suspect I'll have to take that on notice, but I'll see if Mr. Jennings has that level of detail at his fingertips.
Through you, Madam Chair, the monthly figures are fairly stable. They do fluctuate for different times of the year across all three of the categories as well. I will take it partly on notice and come back in hot topics just with a little bit more context, and we can go from there if that's okay.
Any further debate? I'll now put the motion to the vote. Councillor Toynton, would you like a right of reply?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
I'll now put it to the vote. I'll now stop the voting. And the motion's passed unanimously. Item CSC 25/51, 2026 Biennial Survey for Community Satisfaction and Needs.
Just need a councillor move an alternative motion to the business paper.
Okay. So I need a councillor to move an alternative motion to the business paper. Councillor Wright.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to move item 1 there, which is I'll say that again, statistically valid survey delivered externally via phone and online.
Okay. Do I have to get a seconder for that?
Yeah, you need a seconder.
And can I have a seconder, please, Councillor Wells? Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, I know a number of councillors have previously expressed a bit of concern about ongoing costs of these regular surveys that DRC continues to have, and we've got a number of viewers online that have expressed that same frustration with regards to the costs. And it is important to be able to reach out with a statistically valid survey rather than just dumping a questionnaire online for people to maybe willingly jump on, and sometimes the results of those online surveys can throw a result which might be a little bit skew if rather than a rather broad and statistically valid result. So I can see there's been an attempt for staff to come up with some cost savings with respect to this option. Again, I'll hopefully at some point we'll see AI. I know we've all probably experienced AI surveys before, and they can be done. There's probably some cost saving there, probably a significant cost in setting that piece of infrastructure up, but nevertheless, option 1 over the other two is what I'm happy to support here.
Thank you. Any further debate? Put it to the vote here. Yep. I'll just put the motion to the vote. I'll stop the voting. And the motion's passed unanimously. The next items for consideration are deemed to be confidential. Confidential items are under Section 10A of the Local Government Act. The next items being CSC 25/52, CSC 25/53, CSC 25/54, CCC 25/41, IPEC 25/58 have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of Council. Could I now have someone move us into a confidential session to deal with the confidential items? Could I, Councillor Cowley, seconded by Councillor Wells. We've had no applications for members of the public to make their representation regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public or not. I will now open the electronic voting. I'll now close the voting. I declare the motion carried unanimously, and we'll move into closed session, the time being 6:45 p.m.
Okay, live stream turn back on.
We're right.
Yep.
Committees return to open session at 7:25 p.m. Welcome back. I now ask the Governance Officer to play the resolutions from the confidential session, which we've done. There are no further items for consideration of the Corporate Services Committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 7:25 p.m. Web streaming has now been completed. Thank you for your attendance. Please stop the web streaming.